So I just had an experience that I felt compelled to share. So I've had a pretty long day, getting over this pretty bad cold, and just the ups and downs of life, which I'd rather just not go into the details of. But we all have them. The days that just make you want to stay in bed sometimes. So it was that type of day for me. And so at one point, I decided to stop by at a 7-Eleven, get some tea for this cold. And I ran into a homeless guy that was asking for money. And, I've talked about my ordeals in the past with homelessness. So I'm very sensitive to these things. But sometimes, like everyone else, the I don't know, the injustices or the hurting of the world is so many that I too sometimes kind of just turn a blind eye. You can't pay attention to every injury of the world, or else it's going to completely subsume your soul with sadness and just depression and everything else. So up to a point, I get it. I get why people turn their heads and pretend like these things are not happening. It's a survival mechanism. But I didn't do that today. As I was going in, he asked me for money, and I told him, I'll go ahead and do so. But as I was getting the tea and a couple of other items, I tried to get money back. For some reason, the ATM function was not working. Kept rejecting it. So I told him, I said, look, I couldn't get the cash out, but if you want me to, I could go ahead and get you some food. And he gladly accepted. And by the way, his spirit did not, it did not look like someone who, when you go through homelessness, man, it's hard to maintain that light within you. It robs you of that, but he looked like a very affable guy. So that was something that I kind of noticed. So I told him, I said, do you want me to get you any food instead? And he gladly accepted the offer. As I was coming back into the car, I tried to start the car, boom, battery's dead. So of course I try to go back into my woe is me moment, but I was like, it's all good. That's been through a lot worse than a dead battery. So I tried to, flag down a couple of people, and because there were so many other people around kind of asking for money, that I'm pretty sure they assumed that I was asking for money too. So didn't have any success. But at one point, this guy tells me, hey, go across the street. There's an auto shop. You can get someone to jump start your car from there. So I walked across the street, went to the auto store, and this lady gladly said that she'll do it, and went inside her car looking for the jumpers. And she couldn't find any, but she kept talking to me, and then she flagged down a police officer, and then he went out of his way and to get the jumpers for me. And ultimately, they found someone that actually had not the jumper cables, but the actual the one it's like the self-contained unit, I guess. So he came over and I walked back over here and jumped the car, right? So as I was like going through and kind of cleaning out my car, the guy that I gave the food to, he said, hey, listen, let me help you clean the car. That's the least I could do. And I said, no, you're good. I got you, And then I couldn't stop. I couldn't pretend to just ignore, what I'm saying? Not ignore, but like sometimes you don't want to invest in people sometimes, because that's like, I feel people's, and a lot of people feel this way. You kind of take on their struggles, and it kind of weighs you down. But I decided, okay, that's enough. Let me talk to him. So I said, hey, listen, I've been where you're at today. 7 years ago, I was homeless myself. Where you're at today is not where you're going to be at forever. This is part of your testimony. Every test you're going through right now, it's a process that will get you to your testimony. He said, you were homeless? You look like you're doing pretty good. I said, yeah. I was down on my luck. I was literally penniless, living in homeless shelters in Colorado, in South Carolina, in Iowa, in Tennessee. But the one thing that I never did was I never became bitter. I mean, I did become bitter at one point, but I didn't become bitter for forever, I guess. At one point, I let the bitterness go away and just started being grateful. And I realized that there's a purpose I'm going through at this moment. And I told him, I said, what you're going through right now, even though it's difficult, you know, there's a lot of things that you've done in the past that got you here. And this is not to blame you. Sometimes it could be giving people too much and not giving to yourself. Sometimes it could be the opposite. But whatever it is, every time there's a tribulation that comes like this, in a way, it's to actually help. It's not to hurt you. And for me, I'm a person of faith. I told him, I said, you know, when the devil attacks you, when tribulation comes, it's actually to bring you closer to God in that way. Because there's a lot of things that we do in our lifetimes where we take on habits and little things that we do along the way that seem like it's a form of self-medication. You know, whether it's drinking, womanizing, working out too much, eating, overeating, all these things, working too much, even the things that are good, if we do too much, they become a form of distraction. And eventually, distraction leads to destruction. So I told him, when we go through these moments of hardship and tribulation and moments that really try our souls, it's actually a way to purify us, to edify us of the things that have been holding us back along the way. And he paused and he's like, wow. And he shook my hand. By the way, I don't tell these things there's things that you do and out of kindness. Some call it charity. That should never, ever be things to brag about, ever. You give quietly. There's nothing for me that upsets me more than people that give and then give loudly and promote it and market it. But so I don't do this to say, look at me. I'm doing this only because I know that there's other people that are going through the same struggle at this exact moment, because I've been there myself. And in a lot of ways, these moments repeat. Tribulations come back. You know, the tribulation that Job went through, it didn't end once he got restored. Life is a series of tribulations, and each time we get more and more refined in that way. You know, there's a lot of pains that we took on, a lot of these things that happen as children, and we forget about them. We normalize them. We make it a part of our daily life. And then when these challenges come, they peel back the layers and they allow us to heal in the places where the scars had calcified. So I finished having that conversation with him, and his whole demeanor changed, and he was out here, you know, he was out here most likely the whole day. The minute that I had that conversation with him, he just left, you know, and not left like out of shame, but like out of hope. And maybe I was the first person to actually talk to him in that way. The reason I bring this up is, for those people who are going through something, today's test are tomorrow's testimonies. And you are not defined by what you're going through right now, whether it's homelessness, whether it's failing out of school, whatever it is. This is not, wherever you're at right now, if you find yourself in a bad place, this is not your top floor. This is the basement of greater things for you to come. Just do not become bitter. But the other thing that I'm reminded of is these moments where we talk to each other in this way, they do infinitely more to change the world for the better than 1,000 years of protest, than all the raging and anger and all the pure venom that we feel every time we see an injustice or hear some breaking news about X, Y, and Z. Do something kind to someone right next to you. That does more than going on social media and you know, bleeding your spleen about something that happened 1,000 miles away. We've become so used to just being outraged. As we're stepping over people that are hurting right in our midst, we want to get angry about something that's happening at 10,000 miles away. Love, change, hope, everything starts here. And above and beyond everything. When, in fact, even more important than being kind to other people is to being kind to yourself. Change and love starts within. You know, the hurting that we're seeing manifested throughout this world and multiplying every day, it's because people are hurting everywhere. Almost all of us are hurting in one way or the other. Some acknowledge it, some dismiss it, some don't even they're oblivious to it. Some are self-medicating from it, some are pretending, some are putting on all types of facade makeup and all kinds of, or just medicating themselves with alcohol and drugs, whatever it is. But all of us are in one way or the other going through something. So if we really want to change the world, let us heal from within first. Heal within, then healing comes without. So that's what it was. Because for me too, in that moment I had that conversation with him, it was healing for me too. Because it gave me perspective. I was going through that whole like, woe is me, and thinking about and replaying things in my mind. Sometimes having that moment of humanity, as you're talking, as I was sharing my testimony with him, it was also a way to kind of release some of the things that I was still holding in even from 7 years ago. And in that way, when I see his reaction too, that reaction of gratitude, of being thankful that actually someone acknowledged him, that also too is redemptive for me. That's how change starts. Anyways, just wanted really to share that with you. So I hope everyone's being blessed. The journey continues. I'm actually decided to take a break from all the stuff that's been going on in the past in terms of all the endeavors I was involved in, and just to write and reflect. And so the Guzo continues. Guzo means journey in Amharic. The Guzo of healing continues. God bless everyone.